So we're diving straight into what is basically a massive historical cold case. We are tracking down the truth behind one of the most recognizable names in ancient history, King David. You know the stories, but look, we're not touching theology today. Instead, we're going to treat these ancient texts like actual witness statements and then compare them right up against the hard dirt of archaeology to see exactly what holds up.
Because for a really long time, a ton of scholars honestly thought David was essentially the Middle Eastern King Arthur. You know, a great story, a cool folk hero invented centuries later just to give the region of Judah this glorious fabricated past. He really wasn't considered a real guy. That was just the academic vibe, until someone literally tripped over a broken rock that changed the whole game.
On one side, you had what we call the biblical minimalists, and they argued hard that David was purely a literary invention. But on the flip side, today's epigraphers, the experts who actually study ancient inscriptions, now largely agree he was the historical founder of Judah. So how did we get from point A to point B? Well, to figure that out, let's jump back in time. To make sense of the physical evidence, we have to set the scene first. The ancient Levant was just totally chaotic. Back in 853 BCE, there was this massive anti-Assyrian coalition keeping the big superpower in check. But by 841, that coalition totally fractured from the inside out. A guy named Hazael violently took the throne of Aram Damascus, and right next door in Israel, a military commander named Jehu pulled off a bloody coup, completely wiping out the ruling dynasty there. That sudden, violent power vacuum, it was the perfect opportunity. King Hazael used all that chaos to launch a series of brutal, highly aggressive military campaigns against both Israel and Judah. He was on an absolute rampage, just aggressively pushing his borders south. And you're going to want to keep Hazael in mind, because he is definitely the prime suspect in our cold case here. Let's fast forward to 1993. We're at Tel Dan, which is an ancient fortress up in northern Israel. An excavation surveyor named Gila Cook spotted a broken piece of basalt stone just sticking right out of the rubble. It was found in what archaeologists call secondary use, meaning somebody had smashed it to pieces and reused it as cheap building material for a later wall. But originally, this thing was a massive enemy victory monument, written in Old Aramaic. Now, the top of the stone is completely missing, so we don't have the explicit name of the author carved out, but the surviving text leaves zero doubt about what this is. It's an Aramaean king, and it's almost certainly our guy Hazael, just bragging about killing the kings of Israel and Judah. And this directly intersects with ancient biblical witness statements that describe these exact same wars and those exact same kings. But the real bombshell here wasn't the war itself. It was this intense linguistic battle over one specific, explosive word carved right into the broken stone, by Tadudyo. Mainstream experts immediately translated this from the Old Aramaic as House of David. I mean, think about that for a second. You have an enemy king living just a century after David supposedly did, literally carving his royal house into a victory monument. It completely blew a massive hole right through the minimalist myth theory. Naturally, the skeptics pushed back, and they pushed back hard. They argued that because there was no carved dot, like a word divider, between bait, meaning house, and dwud, meaning David, it just couldn't mean House of David. They claimed it had to be a random geographic place, or maybe a temple dedicated to some totally unknown god named Dwud. Well, the pushback to that theory was pretty swift. The renowned Egyptologist Kenneth Kitchen thoroughly dismantled the idea that there was ever some ancient god named Dod. He actually dropped this legendary quote saying, "Dod is a dud deity, as dead as the dodo." Because honestly, there is absolutely no record of this god anywhere in the entire ancient Near East. Just look at how neighboring empires named places. Advanced linguistic analysis shows us that mashing words together without a dot was totally standard practice for dynastic names. For example, Assyrian records called Israel Bit Humeri, House of Omri, named after its real founder Omri. So playing by those exact same ancient rules, Judah being called by Dunwood means it was named after its real, historical founder, David. So for decades, that was pretty much the settled science. But recently, in 2024, an epigrapher named Dr. Michael Langlois threw a major curveball. He used reflectance transformation imaging, which is this incredibly advanced 3D scanning tech, to map out the stone's carvings using varying virtual light angles. And those scans revealed something wild. The letters on the different fragments were actually carved with entirely different strokes. Like some letters on one fragment used a single curve, while the exact same letters on another fragment used two intersecting straight lines. This means multiple scribes likely worked on this massive monument, and the broken pieces might not perfectly align right next to each other the way archaeologists originally glued them together back in the 90s. Now, the words are definitely still there for sure, but the exact sentence structure across those cracks, that is back up for debate.
Section 5. Connecting the ancient clues. Let's zoom out for a second, though, because the House of David isn't just a one-hit wonder on this single rock. We actually have extra biblical backing from multiple rival nations. Over in Moab, the Mesha Stele from around 840 BCE also appears to mention the House of David. And down south in Egypt, the Karnak relief mentions the Heights of David. We are literally triangulating his footprint across completely different rival empires.
And what's cool is that the dirt backs up the texts. Archaeologists are using carbon-14 dating on organic stuff like ancient olive pits to map out early city walls at places like Khirbet Kiafa and Lachish. The physical evidence firmly points to a highly organized Judean state, forming right there in the 10th century BCE, which, not coincidentally, is exactly when David would have ruled. So when you stack all this up, the ancient texts, the carbon dating, the shifting geopolitics we talked about, it has completely flipped the academic consensus over the last 30 years. The verdict today is clear. David was not some fairy tale folk hero. He was a real historical king who founded a dynasty that rival empires recognized, documented, and fought against. We've essentially solved the core mystery here, but the case definitely isn't totally closed. How grand was his empire, really? Was it this sprawling superpower, or just a smaller regional state? And hey, somewhere out there, the missing top half of that Tel Dan Stele is probably still waiting in the dirt.
What the Fact? Follow for more.